Hi everyone, we'll continue with the main frame for the warehouse. At this point of time we need to start working on the frame for the end walls for this short elevation here. So if I look at the warehouse from this direction, from this side, we need to start creating the structure for this wall here. Okay, so based on the specification we have, on the short walls we will have, on the short walls here we have the support columns C1. They are 310 UB40. So in other words, just we would have one in the center of the rafter and another column on the edge of the door opening. So to start with, we'll place a column on the rafter. To add the columns, it's always better to start from the floor level because we can see exactly where the other columns are and we can create distances. We agreed we'll have a column in the mid distance between the edge column and the ridge. This means we'll have a column here. So let's create a grid line at that point there. To create a grid line there, the usual will go to grid offset. I'm just going to offset it without worrying about the measurement and to create a precise distance. I'm just going to offset it 2500 at this point here to this side and another one to that side. Why did we do that? Because we have an easier way to make sure this grid line to be in the center. I can just create the measurement between the two right here and the measurement between these two right here. I can just click on this EQ for equality to make these two distances equal to each other, and that will move the grid line. And the same thing here, if I select these two, click on that and it will make the grid line in the center line. Okay, so this is a temporary grid line. We may delete them after we finish. I've deleted the elevation view by mistake, so I'll undo. Saying here that we created restraint by deleting this, we will unrestrain them. That's fine, they're already equal distance. So we have the grid line where we can place these columns. What we need to, the same CL for columns, and make sure you are on vertical columns, not slanted columns. So if we go to load the family, we need 310 UB, 310 UB40 from here. So we'll go to columns, not framing, not structural framing. We'll go to structural columns, steel, straight and standard, and UB. 310 UB40. Okay, so we have our columns loaded. Now I need to place one here. Well, let's keep an eye on the orientation of the column. The column, we want it to resist the wind pressure coming from the outside, coming from this direction here. Okay, so that means we need the strong axis of the column to be parallel to that, or the web to be perpendicular, in other words, to this wind, the web to be parallel to this wind direction. So if I click space, that will rotate the column. This is the right direction we want these columns to be sitting at. This is the first column and this is the second column. As we agree, I didn't pay too much attention about the specification of the columns in terms of height and where they sit, because we can fix it from here. So we want the second column to go to the eve line for a starter, and starting at 0 from the finished floor level. So if I look at them in 3D, now we want these columns to attach to the rafter, so I can just click on the column and attach this column to the rafter. Same thing goes here. Done. So we have all columns in place. Now in terms of alignment, because in a next step we are going to create girts, wall girts. So we want the girt to run from here. If I just draw a line, just to show you, if I want the girt to run from here all the way to here, look at that, these columns, they interfering with it. we want these columns to be aligned with the two edges of these flanges. So we don't want them to intersect with the girts. I'll delete that line. So let's just make our level of details to fine. We need to align AL. I need to align the base. Keep an eye please, as we agreed on this messages here at the bottom of the screen. It says here select the reference alignment. I want the reference alignment to be this edge of the column. I want everything to align with it. Look at it, this line here. I want these two columns to be in line with that. So I can just choose multiple alignments from here, so I don't have to click it again, and align this column and the second column we added to it, and we're done. Okay, this way we have our columns in place. They are aligned to our corner columns. That will allow the girts to go all the way out. Okay, now what we need to do, we need to create another column to allow for the opening. So this is the east elevation and this is the west elevation. On the east elevation we'll need 4 by 4 meters opening. On the west elevation we'll need 6 by 6 meters opening. Okay, so to create another column that will be 6 meter clear, that means this flange here will have, the edge of this flange will have a distance of 6 meter clear before we have the other column in place. So what we can do, there are lots of things that we can do. I can just draw a line here, just temporary line, offset this line by a distance of 6 meters. And that would show me where the other flange would be. Or in fact I can maybe offset it with, offset this line here by a distance of 3 meters. I created too many lines here, I'll delete them by mistake. Okay, what I can do, I can just mirror this column to that line, and that will be done. So that will create, if I measure now from this flange here, there, 6 meters. Or we could have offsetted this by 6 meters and then copied the column here and aligned it with the new line. So there are lots of ways of doing it. It's not really that important to us, as long as any of these ways which will do the job, that will be fine. Now I'll create the other column on the other side. I'll just mirror it to this axis, and then I'll mirror all the columns to the other side. And then all I have to do is just move these two columns 1 meter, actually 2 meters that way. That will make it 4 meters opening. That will be 2. And that will be 2 that way. Done. If I double check the spacing between these columns here, so does it allow for 4 meters clear? 4 meters here, and this is another 4 meters. Done. So let's look at it in 3D. This point here, we have all the columns attached to the bottom of the rafter. On this side here, we've got the same thing, all the columns extended to the bottom of these rafters, and that will create our frames for the other doors. What we can do, we can add the beam above these doors. So we've got this beam door specification. I think here, door for the door beam, it's 360 UB 44.7 flipped. So we need to create a beam. We will go to BM, and I have to load the beam 360 UB 44.7. Okay, just simply I'll draw it in 3D. I'll take this frame, I'll isolate this frame by putting a box, look at it from one side, and then I'll draw in 3D. So we'll go back to BM. I need to choose the right beam. We've got that. So I need to draw from, again, start with that. So I'll draw it just roughly here for now, anywhere. Now I'll go and fix it. Look at these beams are not straight. If I look at the starting the reference levels, so I've got it from the eve line. I want it to be from the eve line. Let's choose it from the FL, and I want it to be 6 meters. That's for 4 meters, so 4 meters exactly. And the end, same thing, 4 meters. Apply. It'll create it 100% at 4 meters and straight. Now I need to rotate it flip. That means I need to rotate it by 90 degrees. I want it to be that. Now what we can do, if I just go to, and I'll do the same thing for here. I'll go to FL 4 meters and 4 meters, 90 degrees. Apply. If I go to the elevation, one of the elevations, these are the two beams. Let's just measure that distance. 3915, we want that to be 4 meters, so we have to raise it by another 85 millimeters. So if I just go to those beams to be 4085 and 4085 by, that's 4 meters. That's for the first two openings. If I do the same for the other, I need to exit this selection box. I can just untick that. Okay, simply that's just drawing the center line. Let's look at this. Okay, what we need to do is just make sure this beam is drawn from the, rather than the top. Why justification? Let's make it center. And the same thing for here. So check the other two beams there. Get rid of the selection box. These two beams just create the Z justification to the center. That will make them sitting in between them. Those beams, (360 UB) and what beam columns here? 530. Okay, by mistake, for some reason these columns here are 530. They should be all 310. That's good. We notice that now. I was thinking because the beam looks smaller than the column, which should be the other way around at this arrangement. So I'll just change those to be what we agreed on, 310 UB40. That makes more sense now. Okay. Alright then, so we've got our beams and columns for the doors and for the end walls. Well, what we have to create on our next video is the connection details.